There was a day when the people of a certain valley walked out of their houses and found a man building a ship on dry ground. There was no harbor near him. There was no river deep enough to float what he was making. He was old, older than anyone they could remember, and he was cutting timber and shaping planks in a place where a ship made no sense at all. They gathered around him the way people gather around something they intend to laugh at. And he did not stop working while they laughed. To understand why that man was building, you have to go back to the beginning of his life, to a valley where the name of Allah was still known, but no longer alone. Generations had passed since Adam alayhi salam. The knowledge of the Creator had not been erased. People still spoke of him. They still knew that the sky above them and the ground beneath them had an owner. But among them lived men of unusual devotion, men known for worship and uprightness. And when those men died, the community felt the loss the way a house feels the loss of its lamp. Ibn Abbas, radiyallahu anhuma, described what happened next, and his words are preserved in Sahih al-Bukhari. The people set up images of those righteous men in the places where they used to sit, not to worship them, to remember them.
To keep the shape of a good man in front of the eyes of the young, so that the young would want to be like him. It was a beautiful intention. It was also the first stone of the first idol on earth. Because the generation that made those images knew exactly what they were. They knew stone was stone. But that generation died, and the one after it inherited the images, without inheriting the reason.
A child grows up seeing his father slow down as he passes a certain stone. He does not need to be taught anything. He learns respect by watching. And when that child becomes a man and his father is gone, the stone is the only teacher left. Knowledge was lost, and worship went where knowledge used to be. The Quran preserves their names at the exact moment the people refuse to let go of them. Wad, Suwa, Yaguth, Ya'uk, Nasr. 5 names in one verse, spoken as a slogan of resistance. Do not abandon your gods, and do not abandon Wad, nor Suwa, nor Yaguth and Ya'uk and Nasr. 5 men who had lived to call people to Allah, and whose names had been turned slowly and politely and across generations into 5 reasons to turn away from him. Notice how nothing here was violent. Nobody woke up one morning and decided to reject his creator. It happened through affection, through respect, through the harmless-looking wish to keep a good memory close. The distance between remembering a righteous man and worshiping him was crossed so gently that the people who crossed it never felt the ground change. Into this valley, Allah sent Nuh alayhi salam. He was not sent with an army and not with a miracle that broke the sky in half on the first day. He was sent with a sentence,
Worship Allah. You have no deity other than Him. That was the whole message, and everything else in his life was built on it. He came to them as a clear warner, and he told them plainly why he had come. He feared for them the punishment of a tremendous day.
In the long hadith of the Great Intercession, recorded in both Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, people on the Day of Judgment run from prophet to prophet, and when they reach Nuh alayhi salam, they address him with a title nobody else on earth carries. They call him the first messenger Allah sent to the people of the earth. And a first messenger has no example ahead of him. There was no earlier prophet whose patience he could study, no earlier community whose story could tell him how long this would take or how it would end. He had a message from his Lord and a valley full of people who had already decided what they believed. He called them to worship Allah alone, to have taqwa of Him, and to obey the one who had been sent to them. He told them the exchange in the clearest terms. Turn back, and Allah will forgive you your sins and grant you respite until an appointed term. Not a threat thrown from a distance, an offer held open with a door still unlocked. The answer came from the chiefs. It always comes from the chiefs. Not because the poor are wiser, but because the poor have less to lose when the truth arrives. The leading men of his people looked at Nuh alayhi salam and said, "We see you only as a man like ourselves." That was their strongest objection. He ate, he walked, he had a family, he grew tired. If Allah had truly wanted to send something, they said, He would have sent angels. A man is too ordinary to carry a message this large. Then came the second objection, and this one is uglier and more familiar. They looked at who was following him, and they said, "We do not see anyone following you except the lowest among us, and only at first glance, without thought. Look at what you have managed to gather. Servants, laborers, people with no standing and no name. If your message were true, would it not have attracted better people than these?" They were asking him for a trade. "Send those people away, and we will sit with you. Clear the room of the poor, and the powerful will consider your message." It is one of the oldest offers in the world, and it has been made to sincere people in every century since. Nuh alayhi salam refused it, and his refusal is preserved in the Quran with a firmness that has not softened in thousands of years. He said he would not drive away those who believed, that they were going to meet their Lord, and that he saw the people who despised them as a people acting in ignorance. He asked them who would defend him before Allah if he pushed those believers away. Their reckoning, he said, is with my Lord, if only you could perceive. And then he stripped away every claim he had never made. He told them, "I do not say to you that I possess the treasuries of Allah, and I do not know the unseen, and I do not say that I am an angel." He was not selling status. He was not offering wealth or secret knowledge or a supernatural personality. He was offering one truth and nothing else, and he refused to decorate it to make it easier to sell. That is the moment to hold on to, because everything that follows in his life grows out of it.
He was given a choice between the message and the audience, and he kept the message. Then came the years. The Quran tells us how he called them night and day, openly, in the gathering places, in front of everyone, and privately, taking men aside, speaking to them alone, where pride is quieter and a person can hear without an audience watching him listen. He did not use one method and blame them when it failed. He changed his approach again and again for the same people over a span of time that is difficult to hold in the mind. And the response is described in a way that is almost physical. They put their fingers in their ears. They pulled their garments over their heads. They persisted, and they were arrogant with a great arrogance. Picture that. A man is speaking, and the person in front of him presses his own fingers into his own ears and drags his cloak over his own face so that he does not have to see the speaker's eyes. That is not the behavior of someone who has calmly examined a claim and rejected it. It is the behavior of someone who is afraid the claim might be true. And Nuh alayhi salam kept speaking to the covered faces. He told them to seek forgiveness from their Lord, and he attached to that forgiveness a promise so worldly and so concrete that no one in an agricultural valley could misunderstand it. Ask forgiveness, he said, and he will send the sky upon you in showers and increase you in wealth and children and make for you gardens and make for you rivers. He was telling farmers that their fields depended on their repentance. He was telling fathers that their households depended on their honesty before Allah. He offered them rain. Remember that offer. It matters later when the water comes on different terms. Then he asked them the question that sits underneath the whole story. What is the matter with you that you do not attribute to Allah due grandeur? And he pointed upward, because the evidence was never hidden. He asked them if they had not seen how Allah created 7 heavens in layers and made the moon within them a reflected light and made the sun a burning lamp. He reminded them that Allah had caused them to grow from the earth like plants and would return them into it and bring them out again. He reminded them that the earth had been spread out for them like a carpet so that they could travel its open roads. Every proof he used was something they saw every single day and had stopped looking at. That is the quiet argument in his method. The problem was never a shortage of evidence. It was familiarity. They had grown used to the sun. 950 years. The Quran states it without softening it. He remained among his people 1,000 years less 50. Then the flood seized them while they were wrongdoers. One verse for 9.5 centuries of work, and the sentence does not even pause to admire him. Try to feel the shape of that life. Every objection thrown at him, he had answered 100 times, and the man throwing it was often the grandson of the man who threw it first. He watched children he had spoken to gently become chiefs who mocked him publicly. He buried generations of the same argument. And each morning, he went back out into the same valley and said the same true thing to the same closed faces. They did not merely ignore him. They called him misguided, and they said it to his face. Indeed, we see you in clear error. They accused him of being a man possessed, a madman. And eventually, the mockery hardened into a threat, and they told him plainly that if he did not stop, he would be among those who are stoned. He answered the accusation of error with the calm of a man standing on solid ground. He said, "My people, there is no error in me, but I am a messenger from the Lord of the worlds. I convey to you the messages of my Lord and advise you, and I know from Allah what you do not know. Advise you." Even then, after centuries of covered ears and turned backs, he still described his work as sincere advice to the people doing it to him. And then, after 950 years, the door closed. It did not close because Nuh alayhi salam gave up. It closed by revelation. Allah revealed to him that none of his people would believe except those who had already believed. That is one of the heaviest sentences a caller to Allah can ever receive. There is no one left. Every heart that was going to open has opened. What remains in this valley is settled. Only then did he raise his hands against them. He said, "My Lord, do not leave upon the earth from among the disbelievers an inhabitant." And he explained his reasoning. And his reasoning is the reasoning of a man who has spent 10 centuries watching a poison spread. "If you leave them," he said, "they will mislead your servants and will not beget except a wicked disbeliever." He had seen how a righteous man's memory became a stone, and how the stone became a god, and how the god became an inheritance. He knew what the next generation would be taught. And in another surah, his supplication is recorded in 4 words that hold the whole weight of his life. He called upon his Lord that he was overcome, so help. The answer was not an army, and it was not lightning. It was a command to start carrying wood. "Build the ship," he was told, "under our eyes and by our revelation. And do not address me concerning those who have wronged. Indeed, they are to be drowned." He was given the design, and he was given the deadline, and he was given something more precious than either: the words, "under our eyes." You are not building alone. You are being watched while you work, and the watching is protection, not judgment. So an old man began cutting timber in a dry valley, and the chiefs came, exactly as you would expect, in groups to enjoy it.
Every time a group of them passed by him, they ridiculed him. Here is the great warner. Here is the man who spent his life talking about the punishment of a tremendous day, and now he has taken up carpentry. 950 years of preaching, and this is the result: a boat on land. His answer is one of the most striking sentences in the story. He did not defend himself, and he did not curse them. He said, "If you ridicule us, then we will ridicule you, just as you ridicule us. And you are going to know upon whom will come a punishment that will disgrace him, and upon whom will descend an enduring punishment." He was not being cruel. He was telling them where they were standing. They were laughing at a ship in the dry air of a valley, and the sky above that valley had already been given its instructions. The sign came without warning, and it came from the humblest place in a house. When our command came, and the oven overflowed. The tanur, the baking oven, the hollow of hot stone where bread is made every ordinary morning. Water came up out of it. Scholars have differed over exactly how to understand that word, and the Quran does not expand it into a scene. What it gives us is the shock of the thing, the household object most associated with fire and dry heat and daily routine begins to pour out water. The end of the world announced itself in a kitchen. At that sign came the order to load. Take on board of each kind 2, and your family, except those against whom the word has already gone forth, and those who have believed. And then a phrase that closes the whole account of 950 years. And none had believed with him except a few. A few. That is the entire visible result. By any standard of numbers, of influence, of measurable success, the life's work of Noah alayhi salam produced almost nothing. And he is honored in the Quran as one of the greatest of the messengers. His task was to convey. The hearts were never his responsibility, and he was never graded on them. They boarded, and he taught them what to say as the boards took their weight. In the name of Allah is its course and its anchorage. Indeed, my Lord is forgiving and merciful. And the supplication he was commanded to make, "My Lord, let me land at a blessed landing place, and you are the best of those who bring to land." Then the earth and the sky were commanded together. The gates of heaven were opened with rain pouring down, not falling, pouring, the way water leaves a broken vessel. And the ground itself split open, and the earth burst with springs, water rising from below to meet the water coming from above. The Quran describes the meeting in a way that removes any accident from it, and the waters met for a matter already predestined. 2 floods, one from above and one from beneath, arriving at an appointment that had been written before either of them moved, and the ship carried them through waves like mountains. Not rough water, mountains. A wall of water
rising higher than the highest thing those people had ever stood beneath. And on the side of it, a wooden hull with an old man and a few believers inside. Everything they had ever known, the gathering places, the fields, the houses, the 5 stones with the 5 beloved names, all of it went under the same gray surface, and the surface did not mark the place where any of it had been.
And in the middle of that, the Quran stops the storm to record a conversation between a father and his son. The son was standing apart in a place of his own choosing, and Noah alayhi salam called out to him over the noise of the water, "My son, come aboard with us, and be not with the disbelievers." Think about who is speaking. This is the man who did not bend when the chiefs offered him status, who refused to send away the poor to gain the powerful. And now his voice is the voice of a father shouting across rising water at a boy who will not come. The son answered, "I will take refuge on a mountain to protect me from the water." It is a completely reasonable answer. That is what makes it terrifying.
Water rises, so you go higher. Every instinct a person has agrees with him. He was not being stupid, he was being sensible. And sensible is not the same thing as safe. A plan that makes sense is not a plan that saves you when the decree is what you are running from. His father's reply is the sentence the whole flood exists to prove. There is no protector today from the decree of Allah except for whom He gives mercy. And the wave came between them. The Quran gives us no farewell, no last look, no final word from the boy. The verse simply says a wave came between them, and he was among the drowned. Between them, between a father and a son, mid-sentence, forever. Later, after the water had done its work, Nuh alayhi salam did what a father would do. He called upon his Lord and said, "My Lord, indeed my son is of my family, and indeed your promise is true, and you are the most just of judges." He was not accusing. He was holding on to a promise he had been given, that his family would be saved, and asking about the one who was missing. The answer he received is one of the most serious verses in the Quran on the subject of belonging.
Allah said, "He is not of your family. Indeed, he is one whose deed is not righteous." And he instructed him not to ask about that of which he had no knowledge, and warned him against being among the ignorant. Family, in the sense that mattered on that day, was never a matter of blood. The son of the greatest caller on earth stood outside the ship, and the ship did not wait for his name. Faith is not inherited. It does not travel through a bloodline. It is not transferred by living in a righteous house, and it cannot be lent to someone you love. And look at how Nuh alayhi salam responded to the correction. He said, "My Lord,
I seek refuge in you from asking you that of which I have no knowledge. And unless you forgive me and have mercy upon me, I will be among the losers.
A prophet at the end of 950 years of faultless service, having just lost his son, turns immediately to seeking forgiveness for a single question asked out of grief. He did not defend his emotion. He corrected it. Then it was over, and the ending is quieter than the beginning. It was said, "O earth, swallow your water, and O sky, withhold."
And the water subsided, and the matter was accomplished. And the ship came to rest on Al-Judi. And it was said, "Away with the wrongdoing people." The same voice that opened the heavens closed them again. And the sea that had covered a world drained back into the ground as if it had been borrowed. And to the people on the ship it was said, "Descend in peace from us, and blessings upon you, and upon nations to come from those with you." They walked down onto ground that had been washed clean, into a world that was empty and quiet and entirely theirs to begin again. Allah says of Nuh alayhi salam that he answered him and saved him and his family from the great distress and made his descendants those remaining. The Quran addresses later generations of humanity as the descendants of those we carried with Nuh. Whatever came after came through that handful of people on those planks. And then the verse that is the true measure of his life. Peace upon Noah among the worlds. He was mocked in his own valley by everyone who lived in it, and he is greeted with peace in the worlds. The wife of Noah is mentioned in Surah At-Tahrim as an example, and the example being made is precise. She was under one of Allah's righteous servants, and she betrayed him. And being under that righteous servant availed her nothing at all against Allah. She shared his house, his table, his name, and she did not share his faith. And on the day it counted, only the faith was weighed. And the ones who were saved were not the powerful. They were the people the chiefs had called the lowest among us. The men whose company was considered an embarrassment, whose presence in the room was offered as a reason to reject the message, were the ones standing on the deck while the chiefs looked for higher ground. So what does the flood leave with us thousands of years later in a life that contains no ark? It leaves the way idols are actually born, not through rebellion, but through drift. Something good is loved, then honored, then given a place, then given a share of the heart that belongs only to Allah. And no single step in that sequence ever feels like the moment of loss. Nobody today carves wad or suwa, but there are things in a modern life that quietly get consulted before Allah, feared more than Allah, and obeyed more consistently than Allah. And they were all, at the start, harmless. It leaves the fact that outcomes were never the assignment. Nuh alayhi salam worked for 950 years and boarded that ship with a few. If he had judged himself by results, he would have stopped in the 1st century. Whatever good you are trying to do that seems to be producing nothing, that arithmetic is not yours to run. It leaves the truth that no relationship carries anyone.
Not a father's prophethood, not a husband's righteousness. Everyone climbs aboard with their own 2 feet. And it leaves the mercy that sat underneath the entire story. The punishment took a single day. The invitation took 950 years. So let me leave you with 3 questions, and answer them for yourself, not for anyone listening beside you. What is the thing in your life that you have been slowly honoring until it started taking a place that is not its own? Who is the person you have quietly written off, the one you have decided is beyond speaking to? When Nuh alayhi salam did not write off a valley in 9.5 centuries. And if the water came to your door tomorrow, would you be standing on the deck, or would you be climbing a mountain that makes perfect sense?
Here is one decision to take from this, and make it small enough that you will actually do it. Pick one person you have given up on and speak to them once more this week. Gently, without an argument, without needing to win. Nuh alayhi salam changed his method for the same people for centuries. You can change yours once and close with what he closed with, because his last recorded supplication included the people who had not yet been born. My Lord, forgive me and my parents and whoever enters my house a believer, and the believing men and the believing women. O Allah, keep our hearts on Tawheed, and let nothing beloved to us take a place beside you. Grant us the patience of those who kept working when nothing was working. And gather us with those who were carried, not with those who found higher ground. Ameen.